The best time to start was years ago. The second best time is today. Have you ever looked back and thought, if only I had started sooner? Maybe it was a business. Maybe it was a side hustle. Maybe it was creating content. Maybe it was getting healthier. Maybe it was investing. Maybe it was building a personal brand. Whatever it was, you've probably had that moment where you realized that time has moved on, whether you took action or not. And that's a hard truth, because most people aren't held back by a lack of opportunity. They're held back by hesitation. They're held back by waiting for confidence, waiting for certainty, waiting for the perfect time, waiting for everything to line up perfectly. The problem is, life doesn't work like that.
The perfect time never arrives. There will always be another challenge, another obstacle, another reason to delay, another excuse that sounds completely logical. And before you know it, weeks become months, months become years, years become decades. Then one day you wake up wondering where the time went. I see this all the time in the online business world. People consume content for years. They watch videos, buy courses, read books, listen to podcasts, attend webinars, and they're always preparing, always learning, always planning, but rarely implementing. Now, don't get me wrong. Learning is important. Education is important. Having a strategy is important. But there comes a point where more information becomes a hiding place. It becomes a form of procrastination, because learning feels productive. It feels safe. It allows us to convince ourselves we're making progress, when in reality, we're simply avoiding the discomfort of taking action. And that's where most people get stuck. They want certainty before they move, but certainty comes after movement, not before it. Think about every successful person you've ever admired, every entrepreneur, every business owner, every creator, every coach, every leader. None of them started with certainty. None of them knew exactly how things would work out. None of them had all the answers. What they had was a willingness to move forward despite uncertainty. That's the difference. The difference isn't talent. It's not intelligence. It's not luck. It's not some secret strategy. It's the willingness to take action while everyone else is waiting. Because action creates experience. Experience creates competence. Competence creates confidence. Read that again. Action creates experience. Experience creates competence. Competence creates confidence. Most people try to reverse the process. They want confidence first, then they'll act, but confidence doesn't arrive in advance. Confidence is earned. Confidence is built. Confidence is developed through repetition, through mistakes, through learning, through doing. You don't become confident by thinking. You become confident by proving to yourself that you can handle challenges. That's why your first video feels awkward. That's why your first sales call feels uncomfortable. That's why your first piece of content feels imperfect. That's why your first offer feels scary, because it's new. But eventually, what was once uncomfortable becomes normal. What was once difficult becomes easy. What once felt impossible becomes routine. The people who succeed aren't fearless. They're simply willing to move despite fear. Now let's talk about business specifically. One of the biggest mistakes people make is believing they need to have everything figured out before they start. The perfect website, the perfect logo, the perfect branding, the perfect funnel, the perfect content strategy, the perfect product, the perfect offer, the perfect social media profile, the perfect launch plan. But perfection is often just procrastination wearing a professional disguise. The market doesn't reward perfection. The market rewards progress. The market rewards consistency. The market rewards implementation, because when you start taking action, something powerful happens. You get feedback, you discover what works, you discover what doesn't. You learn things that no course can teach you. You gain real-world experience, and that experience becomes your competitive advantage. The truth is, your first version doesn't need to be perfect. It simply needs to exist. Too many people are trying to create version 10 before they've created version 1. That's impossible. Every successful business you've ever seen started as version 1. Every successful content creator started with 0 followers. Every successful coach started without testimonials. Every successful entrepreneur started without experience. Nobody begins at the finish line. Everyone begins at the beginning. And that's exactly where you need to give yourself permission to start. Now, here's something I want you to think about. Imagine where you could be 1 year from now if you started today. Not next month, not next year, today.
Imagine publishing content consistently. Imagine developing new skills. Imagine building your audience. Imagine creating relationships. Imagine serving people. Imagine building momentum. The results might not be dramatic overnight, but over time, momentum compounds. And that's something most people underestimate. They underestimate what consistent action can achieve over 12 months, over 24 months, over 36 months. And the people who seem successful today often aren't benefiting from what they did this week. They're benefiting from what they started years ago. The content, the relationships, the skills, the reputation, the authority, the trust, all of it compounds. Which brings us back to the original message. The best time to start was years ago. The second best time is today. You can't change yesterday. You can't recover lost time. You can't go back and start earlier. But you can start now. And that's all that matters, because tomorrow, today becomes yesterday. And 1 year from now, you'll either be grateful that you started or you'll wish you had. The decision is yours, not your circumstances, not the economy, not your friends, not your family, not the algorithm, not the market. Yours. The future is being built by the actions you take today. So stop waiting, stop overthinking, stop searching for the perfect moment. Take the next step, build the business, create the content, serve the audience, develop the skills, follow the vision, because the opportunity isn't in yesterday, the opportunity is in today. And today's actions create tomorrow's reality. I'm Brad Case, and I'll see you in the next one.